Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval theme format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person who's just found out that they're going to be attending Gamescom 2023 this year, which also is 2023, I'm told. So if you see a person that is dressed exactly like this, then come say hi to me, because I'll be there representing the Future Game Show, or FGS, my current employers. The fools! Yes, you get to decide which list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other to thank than Arnaldo Medina, who I'm pretty sure has already been on the Choose Your Own Adventure show. Double dipping, my friend, I like it, for their suggestion of video game heroes that effectively cause the events of the game themselves, and not in a good way. So we've twisted it a little bit and made this into a list of video game heroes that doom themselves. And we all love the trope of the hero's journey, of watching warriors and wizards go against big bad evils, triumph over them, and lead the land into positivity and prosperity. But there is just one problem, because sometimes developers come along and say, no, that's not the story we're telling today. In fact, it's less going to be a story that goes, ooh, and more like, oh no, things are getting worse the more they carry on. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. So let's get on with it, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game heroes that doomed themselves. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to Dan here in the live chat, and put your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. And with that in mind, let's get on with the list, shall we? Number 8, Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, when Red Dead Redemption 2's protagonist Arthur Morgan went to reclaim a debt owed by Thomas Downs, he would have never anticipated that Downs would have ended up sputtering red fiery death all over his face. And no, he's not a fire breather or some sort of malefic wizard, he just has a very horrible infection. When Arthur pays a visit to a non-compliant Downs, he quickly loses his temper and things get pretty violent, ending with him beating the already grim-looking Downs to a bloody pulp. As Arthur brings him to his feet, the guy coughs violently, exploding blood and mucus all over Arthur's face, much to his understandable disgust. Yet Arthur is blissfully ignorant of the fresh hell that he's just inadvertently wrought upon himself in picking a fight with the wrong man, because this guy is dying from tuberculosis. Indeed, he dies before Arthur revisits his home to collect the debt, and before long, Arthur himself starts hacking up a lung and pretty much everything else, having contracted the illness from him. And more to the point, seeing as this game takes place a whole half-century before tuberculosis was actually cured, things aren't looking good for our hero, are they? And with no chance of recovery, it leads to his eventual death at the end of the story. Spoiler alerts, I guess, but by now, come on, you should have played these games. Number 7, Albert Einstein, Command & Conquer, Red Alert. So Albert Einstein is pretty much just a real-life hero. He just did so much for humanity in his day-to-day. So, of course, Command & Conquer had to come along and say, but what if we made him even cooler? Yet he was ultimately a hero that was felled by his own ambitious creation. You see, in the original Command & Conquer Red Alert, Einstein used his experimental time travel machine to head back to 1924 and straight up disintegrate a young Adolf Hitler with a handshake. While on paper this might sound like a very net good thing for humanity, seeing as eliminating a tyrant and preventing Nazi Germany rising to power is definitely a good thing, and I don't know why I have to clarify that on the internet these days, but that's the state of the world that we live in. Unfortunately though, the butterfly effect becomes a real pain in the arse, and it caused some majorly unintended consequences. First and foremost, it led to Stalin's Soviet Union effectively growing totally unchallenged, resulting in a considerably more brutal and deadly version of World War II. And beyond making things worse for humanity as a whole, Einstein also ended up plotting the course for his own demise, as in Red Alert 3, the pesky Ruskies developed their own time machine and end up doing to Einstein exactly what he did to Hitler. It's kind of got the same energy as those Tekken characters who just keep throwing people off into volcanoes. It's just like, okay, so you're just going to copy what I did, are you? Fantastic. Nice original plan there, mate. Just as the Soviets are on the verge of losing World War II, they head back to 1927 and turn Einstein to dust with another trusty time-traveling handshake. This in turn causes nuclear weapons to have never been invented, leading to World War III, with Japan, who never surrendered in World War II due to the US not dropping atomic bombs on them, joining the party for a triple threat match with Russia and the US. So yeah, long story short, time travel good until you actually put it into practice, it seems. So let's just leave that be. Number 6, Alex Mercer, Prototype. Now, Prototype's protagonist, Alex Mercer, is absolutely a card-carrying anti-hero, but nevertheless, he is a man whose actions condemned him to a rather grim fate. For the game begins with Alex waking up in a morgue with no memory of his past, before then discovering that he possesses supernatural abilities, all while a virus known as Blacklight is wreaking havoc throughout Manhattan. Much later in the game, however, it's revealed that Alex helped create the virus and was even responsible for releasing it into Manhattan when he was caught trying to steal a sample of it. As Alex was gunned down, the virus entered his bloodstream, reviving him whilst also granting him many paranormal powers, which he ultimately uses to stop Black Ops Unit Blackwatch from destroying Manhattan with a nuclear explosion. Right, well, you might be thinking at this point, okay, maybe he didn't have good starts, but he ended things much better, right? He saved the day, right? Well, then Prototype 2 came along and was just like, nah. Because Prototype 2 frames him as having the events of the first game leave Alex with an overpowering hatred of humanity, and therefore he plans to wipe out the human race with a new outbreak of Blacklight. Yet, at game's end, Alex is defeated and consumed by the sequel's player character James, which is a path that he unknowingly set himself on the moment that he tried to steal a sample of Blacklight. Now, before I begin number 5 here, I'm going to be talking about Live Alive, and I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce some of the characters' names. Apologies for this. I've not actually played this game, so if I mispronounce them, let's just make a joke of it. Like, let's just go easy on old Uncle Jules here, all right? Please put your visuals down. Number 5, Ørsted, Live Alive. Now, Ørsted is one of Live Alive's many playable characters, and the one who ended up not merely sealing his own fate, but straight up condemning himself to all-encompassing villainy. Now, Ørsted is a knight who battles his pal Strybo for the hand of Princess for Luke of Lukriki, but after Ørsted wins, is kidnapped by the malevolent Lord of Dark. Yeah, this isn't going to get annoying, is it? But still, I've committed, so let's go. Let's just keep going. And so Ørsted and Strybo join forces to rescue her, defeating the Lord of Dark, but at the cost of Strybo's life, or so Ørsted thinks. Now, back at Lukiki Castle, Ørsted actually ends up killing the ruler of this area, but even though he believes him to be a monster, he's cast out by the people of Lukiki Village. More to the point, it turns out that the whole ruse was concocted by Strybo, who was jealous of Ørsted winning Athra's hand, and so faked his own death while setting Ørsted up to kill the king. Now, Ørsted ends up killing his former friend Strybo, but when he catches up with Princess Athra, she says that it's all his fault, that he's to blame for everything that's happened in this game, and ends up killing herself. This leaves Ørsted in such a state of despair that he becomes the real Lord of Dark, which is the game's ultimate antagonist and a literal physical manifestation of hate. Oh god, getting through that was absolutely torturous for me, and it probably was for you as well. But still, there is a very emotional tale here that I've undeniably undercut with my silly voices there. But still, you are to blame for everything that's gone on, and you become the main big bad of the entire arc. So yeah, things haven't exactly gone well for you. Poor old Ørsted. Number 4, the boss, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Now, until the very end of the third Metal Gear Solid game, fans were led to believe that Naked Snake's former mentor, the boss, had defected to the USSR and was working in league with Russian officer Colonel Volgin. But in an ingenious final twist, it reveals that the boss hadn't actually heel-turned at all, rather that she was still very much on the side of the US, having been ordered secretly to infiltrate Volgin's ranks in order to acquire the Philosopher's Legacy, which basically amounted to $100 billion in cash and return it to the US. Yet, the eventuality of the boss agreeing to be a double agent is that she would ultimately have to lay down her life, being killed by Snake in order to finally persuade the world that she was a traitor. In turn, this avoided outright war between the Soviet Union and the US following Volgin's detonation of a nuclear missile on Russian soil, which the Soviets originally believed was an American strike. Ultimately, the boss was a hero beyond compare, but her actions forced her to become the real villain, and so she slid slowly from being what she was into what we found her as at the end of the game, a corpse. Number 3, the protagonist, Diablo. Now, the unnamed protagonist of the original Diablo, either a warrior, rogue, or sorcerer, kills Diablo's mortal form at the end of the game, seemingly bringing their heroic journey to a glorious, fulfilling end, right? No? Because in the final scene, the hero then removes the all-powerful Soul Stone from Diablo's head and then rather brazenly drives it into their own skull in an attempt to contain him. Now, I'm not saying that I wrote the big book of adventuring written by Captain Obvious here, but maybe sticking a giant Soul Stone that is filled with evil energy right into your forehead isn't a good plan. I mean, that's probably the worst thing that you could do. I mean, just keep it in a box. Just bury it underground. Just throw it into a river. You've done more to prevent the spread of this evil influence than shoving it right into your noggin. Although it does make a very cool accessory, I'll give him that. And so the protagonist then effectively becomes possessed by Diablo's essence, transforming them into the Dark Wanderer, who in Diablo 2 eventually sheds their human form entirely and becomes Diablo outright. With the warrior being the canonical protagonist of the first game, things don't fare much better for their companions, both of which have also become corrupted. The rogue transforms into the Blood Raven and the sorcerer into the Summoner. Now, I understand the hero's desire to lock Diablo away forever, but no? And thus ends my speech. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Number 2, Joel, The Last of Us. Though The Last of Us' protagonist Joel manages to survive for almost 5 years after the events of the first game, his concluding violent act nevertheless sealed his fate, setting him on a charted course towards the Grim Reaper. Now, the game of course ends with Joel refusing to let the Fireflies perform surgery on Ellie in the pursuit of a cure, surgery which had no guarantee of producing one but will 100% result in her death. In order to secure his and Ellie's exit from the hospital, Joel goes all guns blazing, or rather blades in this case. When the head surgeon brandishes a scalpel to try and stop him from leaving with Ellie, Joel responds by stabbing him in the neck, killing him instantly. And while Joel subsequently manages to escape the hospital with Ellie, albeit with a pile of bodies in his wake, it's an act which leaves his days firmly numbered. For you see, the surgeon's young daughter, Abby, well, she goes on her own hero's quest, as it were, to get revenge against Joel, and does so in a pretty violent manner, right in front of Ellie, bludgeoning him to death with a golf club. Now, granted, you can argue that Joel would have probably died much sooner if he simply left Ellie to die in the hospital and confined himself to a lonely, despair-filled existence, but by killing Abby's dad, well, he painted a big, bright target on his back. And number 1, Wanda, Shadow of the Colossus. Now, Shadow of the Colossus' protagonist Wanda definitely started the game with good intentions, because all he wanted to do was revive his pal Mono, but unfortunately, as the good old expression goes, the road to hell is pathed with good intentions. Pathed or paved? Come on, mate, just cut me some slack. At the start of the game, Wanda pays a visit to Dormin, a mysterious entity who apparently possesses the ability to resurrect the dead. But of course, there is a catch, and that is that Wanda will first have to defeat 16 gigantic mythical colossi that are strewn across the land. And here's the thing as well, obviously this smacks of some sort of weirdness to begin with, because obviously it's like an ancient temple, a mysterious voice, go kill these beasts that seem to have no interest in wanting to kill you. And also, I'm going to warn you at the very beginning of the game that this is going to come with a great cost. At that point there, you're just kind of like, the fine print is very much becoming large print that says, no, 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 no. And Wanda's there like, yeah, I'll sign. And so Wanda takes down the Colossi one by one, flatly ignoring the fact that each of the Colossus' death appears to cause Wanda's physical form to further deteriorate. This culminates in Wanda returning to Dormin after completing his mission, only to learn that he got played like a damn fiddle all along, because each of the 16 Colossi each represent a fragment of Dormin's essence which was separated from him in order to seal him away. In defeating the Colossi, Wanda has freed Dormin, resulting in the man who sealed Dormin away coming back with his men in order to kill Wanda, who then becomes possessed by now resurrected Dormin. And now, as the Wanda-Dormin combo, they transform into a gigantic beast who are, well, sealed away quite quickly and easily, which does kind of undercut the sheer power that you're meant to be conveying here. No one else disappointed by that? I was a bit just kind of like, oh, amazing. This is going to be kind of cool in a very, very downer way. But at the same time, it's just like, I'm here. I'm massive. I'm going to stomp on you. And I'm gone. Though Wanda was ultimately successful in bringing Mono back to life, the cost of his own life and threatening the existence of the entire land was clearly far too dear. And there we have it, my friend, 8 video game heroes that ended up dooming themselves. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it, along with how awful my pronunciations of the Live Alive video game characters were, down in the comment section below. And if you want to chat to me on the social medias in between these videos, then you can go over to Instagram, X. And everywhere else where I'm just at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there, my friends. Or you can follow me over on the Future Game Show or FGS, where I do all of my daily gaming content going forward. And you can follow Dan over here as well, because he is an absolute ledge and he deserves all the love. But before I go, my friend, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke today about video game heroes that doomed themselves, there is one thing that you can do every single day that will stop you on a path of self-destruction, and that is just taking some time out of your day to remind yourself that you're an absolute ledge. Just please be kind to yourself. That's all I ever want for you, okay? I want you to go out there and live a healthy and happy life, because you deserve the bloody best, all right? So take your foot off the gas, enjoy the scenery for a bit, check in with yourself, ask yourself questions about whether or not you're okay, because it is okay to not be okay. Because remember, there's friends, family, professionals in the support industry, people who care about you and want you to do well, all right? Now go out there and smash it, but maybe put the kettle on first and breathe for 5 minutes. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Get out of here, mic stand.